and Mom,
Miriam,
Miriam,
and John
all
were getting the
and
vehicle.
and Felix
All getting inside of the vehicle
all get inside of the vehicle
to drive over to Washington.
to drive over to Washington to watch a spectacular show.
And then as we get there,
And then, as we get there,
and John was saying, here we
John
are.
was saying,
Don't get out of this car yet.
here we are, but don't get out of the car yet.
And then, so that once we get there,
And then,
so that as we get there,
as we get there,
so that you can join the whole crowds, including all the rest of your pack of moms. Louder!
so that we can join the whole crowd, including all of your packs of moms, babies, infants, children, brothers, sisters, kids, dads, grandmas, grandpas, grandchildren, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews,
Rolling,
cousins, rolling
yeah,
20s,
all of your rolling 30s.
and all of your rolling 30s, and all of your rolling 40s, and your 50s, and your 60s, 70s, retro 80s, retro 90s, 2000s, and 2010s,
And even all of the 2020s.
and even all of the
2020s.
one more time, and even all of the
2020s.
2020,
And all of the dogs and all the cats.
and all of the dogs, and all of the cats,
All of the jobs worker.
and all of the jobs workers,
And all of your worldwide nations.
and all of your worldwide nations,
And all of the dags, all of the cats.
and all of the dads, and all of the cats.
We are so excited.
And we are all so excited.
All gather around the parking lot
All gather around the parking lot
in Washington
in Washington
to watch us the big,
to watch
most
us a
ginormous
big,
show.
ginormous, crazy show.
Very gracious, and he was the one that buried her. Well, now he runs the next
That thing that I bought, I wanted it for my room.
He very much believed
I put it there.
doing whatever we could.
And then
That thing, that's all we
And
had.
Maddie's
that
saying
extension cord.
the bad word. And the first round is sparkling in the sky.
And the first round of sparkling in the sky,
Former
And the way that has that little head, se queda enchuflado.
So there was a website for the Bureau.
and the worst, and the
And all of everyone was wildly, and she throws her canes.
and everyone was jumping wildly, and they threw their
Hey,
canes
up in the air.
and they threw their walkers up in the air, and they threw their wheelchairs up in the air, and they threw their walking sticks up in the air, and oh my goodness, they even threw their motorized
Pick her up and not charge you.
wheelchair up in the air.
Yay! The second round of the sparkling in the sky.
And the second round of the sparkling in the sky.
And third and first the sparkling in the sky starts, and everyone got happy. Second, third, fourth, and fifth one.
And the
And
second,
she scared a
third,
baby.
fourth, and fifth one.
You're welcome to come.
The first sparkling in the sky, and everybody got happy. And the second, third, fourth, and fifth one scared the babies.
But I thought
And the babies started to cry, especially the higher.
we have an obligation.
And the mom tells the baby, "Oh, it's okay, baby. Don't you cry. It's just a colorful show in the sky."
And Maddie tells you, wiggle, but she continues to cry.
And then Maddie tells you, "Wiggle," but the babies continue to cry. Wee!
Yoo-hoo!
Woo-hoo!
And what's your name?
And what's your name? It's
C.
Steven. And what's your name? It's Anthony.
And what's your name?
And ask me, what's your name? It's
Nothing.
nothing.
But the second round, he wasn't so friendly.
But the second round, he wasn't so friendly.
And Maddie kept saying, Swirl.
And Maddie kept saying, Ed's World.
And then we saw a spaceship. And what's your name? My name is Mr. Mark.
And then we saw a spaceship. Wow! And what's your name? My name is Mr. Mark.
And the mayor opens the door and grabs their ladders and climbs up and throws his microphone and said,
And the mayor opens the door and grabs the ladder, climbs up and grabs his microphone and says, "The Bluetooth device is now paired. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Hello!
And welcome everybody from all the nations in all the world to this wild and crazy holiday. Are you having fun?
Yeah, I like your uniform.
Yeah, I like your uniform. And the crowd says, thank you.
And are you ready?
And are you ready, crowd, for the biggest, most ginormous, grandest of the
grandest! Final!
Wild
Final finale ever!
And the crowd says,
Yes, we are! Yes, we are! Deserted. So you can powerful, so you can feel it in your booms on your chest.
and the booms of the fireworks were so powerful, and you can feel the booms in your chest. Boom. And the crowd is cheering. Wow!
And the Maddie totally loses it, and the whole crowd totally loses it.
And the whole crowd totally loses it. And they're all screaming, woo! Yay!
Grandparents totally loses it.
And
Grandparents totally loses it. Grandparents totally loses it. And they throw their canes.
canes up in the air. And they throw their walkers up in the air. And they throw their walking sticks up in the air. And they throw their wheelchairs up in the air.
And they throw their... Oh!
And oh my goodness! They even threw their motorized
Scooter and toupees in a wig.
scooter in the air! Woo! Yay! Woo!
Yeah.
Woo! Yay!
And they throw their bow ties up in the air.
And
they throw their ascots
bow
up in the
ties
air.
And they throw their hats up in the air. And they throw their ascots
Up in the
You
air.
gotta slow down and chill out.
Gots up in the air.
And they throw their...
Something new. Get the cherry.
And they throw their...
Here we go. See
Madison, you want to try a cherry?
You wanna
No.
try cherry?
No. And they throw their
Why didn't you?
ascots.
And they throw their ascots up in the air. And they throw their
And they throw their apron up into the air.
And they throw their aprons up in the air.
And they throw their glasses up in the air.
And they throw their glasses up in the air.
And oh my goodness, they even throw a power wheelchair up in the air.
Oh, and oh my goodness, they even threw their power wheelchair up in the air.
And kids totally loses it.
And the
Children totally loses it.
children totally loses it.
And they throw their
And they throw their
ponytails up in the air.
ponytails up in the air.
And-
And they throw their bows up in the air.
And they throw their ribbons up in the air. Ribbons up in the air. And they throw their
Caps up in the air.
and they throw their pants jacket up in the air.
Jacket up in the air.
And they throw their
doesn't give up hope that his daughter is alive. Maintains the same address at home.
And they
throw their
bottles up in the air.
and they throw their sneakers up in the air.
And they throw their sneakers up in the air.
And oh my goodness,
And oh my goodness,
they even throw a bags up in the air.
they even throw their bags up in the air.
Woo! And the BK totally loses it.
And the BK totally loses it. And they throw their burgers up in the air. And they throw their Whoppers up in the air. And they throw their French fries up in the air. And they throw their nuggets up in the air. And they throw their milkshakes up in the air. And oh my goodness, I have a spoon.
They even throw a soda dispenser, and spatula, and fryer up in the air.
And oh my goodness, they even throw their spatula, soda dispensers, and fryers up in the air.
That's way better than mashed
Yay!
And as we got to town, he looked over and
And your Home Depot totally loses it.
everybody else.
And your Home Depot totally loses it. And they throw their ladders up in the air.
And they throw their
I grabbed that bottle of
tools up in the air.
And they throw their tools up in the air.
And they
And they throw their drills up in the air.
they throw their sanding blocks up in the
And
air.
they throw their sanding blocks up in the air.
And they throw their hard hats up in the air. And they throw their apron up in the air.
Hard hats up in the air. And they throw their aprons up in the air. And oh my goodness, they even threw a lawnmower up in the air.
And the Waffle House totally loses it.
And the Waffle House
Totally loses it.
And they throw their waffles up in the air.
Tirelessly on.
And they throw their chicken up in the air. And they throw their spatulas up in the air. And oh my goodness, they even threw their waffle maker up in the air. Woo!
Oh!
Oh!
and your
Down in that oven for about an
and
hour.
your cemetery shin
Be right back.
and the
And
and the emergency totally loses it.
And the emergency totally loses it.
And they
Throw their gloves up in the air.
and they throws her
And they throw their blood pressure machines
up in the air.
in the air.
And they throws their
And they throw their
medical equipment up in the air.
medical equipment up in the air.
And they throw their shots up in the air.
Aid kit up in the air. And they throw
Their shots up in the air.
their shots up in the air. But the shot hit a baby. The baby. And the mom tells the baby, "Oh no, it's okay, baby. Don't you worry." And the mommy puts a band-aid up on the baby, and the baby goes, "Ha, goo goo gaga."
And oh my goodness!
And oh my goodness, they even threw their ambulance up in the air.
And the second one, and they throws their hose up in the air.
And second one, they throw their hose up in the air.
And they throws her
And they throw their hard hats up in the air. And they throw their
Ladders.
badges up in the air.
ladders.
And they throw their ladders up in the air. And oh my goodness, they even threw their fire engine truck up in the air. Woo! Yay! And blazing at its best.
And oh my goodness.
And oh my goodness, they even threw their fire extinguishers up in the air.
And your cop totally loosened.
And the
Third and final one, and they throw their batons up in the air.
totally loses it. And they throw their batons up in the air. And they throw their handcuffs up in the air. And they throw their pepper spray up in the air. And they throw their guns up in the air. And they throw their tasers up in the air. And they threw their caps up in the air. And oh my goodness, they even threw their police cars up in the air. Woo!
With the Snohomish County Sheriff's Department, it is unlike her brother to leave everything he's worked so hard for behind. Arlington is that perfect mixture of rural and big cities. In the northern part of Snohomish County in Washington State,
And your
the city of Arlington
and your rolling 20s totally loses it.
And your rolling 20s totally loses it.
And they throws her.
And they throw their cigarettes up in the air.
And they throw their jazzy hands.
And they throw their
Jazzy hands up in the air.
jazzy hands up in the air. Woo!
And they throw their baby grand piano up in the air.
And oh my goodness,
So they have to sing up to you.
They even throw a tuba
they
and
even
grand
threw a
piano,
tuba
record,
and a baby
jukebox,
grand piano and a jukebox
and
up in the air.
Victrola.
And who?
Victrola.
And a Victrola up in the air. Woo!
And oh my freaking goodness. Wow, I cannot believe it. They even throw
My
the
freaking goodness! Wow!
old cars up in the air.
They even threw their old cars up in the air! Woo! Yay! Bravo!
90s, 2000s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 2020s, and 2010s totally loses it.
And the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s totally loses it! Woo!
And they throw their
And they throw their caps up in the air! And they throw their...
Family members up in the air.
And they throw their cars up in the air! And they throw their skateboards up in the air!
and they throw their jukebox up in the air.
And they threw their jukebox up in the air!
And they even throw their boombox up in the air.
And they even threw their boombox up in the
There.
air!
And they throw their VHS up in the air.
And they throw their VHS up in the air!
And they throw their cassettes up in the air.
And they throw their cassettes up in the air!
Woo! Yay! And oh my goodness! They even threw desktop and virtual reality up in the air.
And oh my goodness, they even threw their desktops and their virtual realities
And
up in the
iPods up in the
air.
air.
And iPods up in the air! Woo!
They throw their iPads and tablets and their phones up in the air. And the
they
big
throw
screen
their
TV up in the
tablets
air.
And iPads and phones up in the
And
air.
they throw the Tamagotchi up in the air.
And they throw their Tamagotchi
She up in the air.
Woo! Yay!
Hey! And the Rolling 20s Stroaster. Oh my goodness! Old TV.
Oh my goodness! Oh my, they even threw their huge flat screen TVs and their huge TVs and their projectors
And
up in the
NES
air.
up in the air.
And
NES up in the air.
they threw their DS up in the air.
And they throw their NES up in the air.
They throw their they threw their
Nintendo Entertainment System.
Nintendo Entertainment System up in the air. Woo!
And they throw their Super Nintendo
And they throw their Super Nintendo
up in the air. And the mayor said,
The mayor said,
and the kids throws their, oh my goodness, sneakers.
and the kids even throw, oh my goodness, their sneakers up in the air. Yay!
And the mayor said,
And the mayor said, wow, what a show!
and I wanted to ask your whole nation from all of,
And I wanted to ask your whole nation from all around the world,
but are you ready?
are you
Who
ready to catch the mayor? That's
me.
And the crowd all runs over and says,
Yes, we are.
Woo!
Come on down.
Come on down!
Come on, everyone.
Come on, everyone!
And the whole crowd starts to run.
And the whole
grandparent
crowd
starts
starts to run.
to turn on your weird wheelchair and the Power Eye scooter.
And everyone starts to turn on their wheelchair and the Power Eye scooter. And they're all running to catch the mayor.
Because the mayor is about to fall down.
Because the mayor is about to fall down.
And then there she is!
And there she is! And the mayor flips off the
Throw his
stage
microphone!
and throws his microphones up in the air, flips off the stage,
And the crowd runs over and catches him!
And the crowd
runs over and catches him!
And the crowd catches him! Woo! And he's gonna see
Yeah,
the people! Yeah! And he's going wild and crazy! Yay! Woo! Mayor! 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 Mayor!
The mayor starts to boogie down to the parking lot.
And the mayor starts
And
to
the whole
boogie
crowd
down
starts
the
to dance
parking
with
lot.
the crazy holiday.
And the whole crowd starts to dance for the crazy holiday. Woo!
It is crazy holiday!
It is a crazy holiday! Woo!
And the IHOP totally loses it!
And
The IHOP totally loses it! And they throw their
pancakes up in the air! And they throw their waffles up in the air! And they throw their French toast up in the air! And they throw their bacon and their eggs! And oh my goodness, even their T-bone steaks up in the air!
and their fryer and spatula!
And their fryer and spatula up in the air! Woo! Yay! Bravo! Woo! Yay!
And the babies totally loses it.
And the babies totally loses it! And they throw their
Fresh.
diapers up in the air! And they throw their binkies up in the air! And they throw their binkies up in the air! And they throw their bottles up in the air! And they throw their baby foods up in the air!
And the crowd saying, ew.
And the crowd say, oh, ew, pee-ew! And they throw their rattles up in the air! And they throw their bibs up in the air! And they all say, goo-goo gaga!
And oh my goodness, blankies up in the air.
And oh my goodness! They even threw their blankies up in the
And
air!
their both feet tucked in up in the air.
And they threw both feet tucked in up in the air. Woo! Yay! Woo! Woo!
He broke it and it shattered all over the ground. And I told the owner of the liquor store, I said, look at this, they're painting it broke your shit. He's after opening up or whatever. He's like on the ground, crawling around, like looking for something.
Hairdresser totally loses it.
And Alan told me that
And the hairdresser totally loses it. And she throws her aprons up in the air. And she throws her scissors up in the air. And she throws the blow dryer up in the air. Ooh. And she throws her hair shaver up in the air. Bzzz. And she throws the hairspray up in the air.
And they throws their hair colors up in the air.
And they throw their hair colors up in
And
the
they throw
air.
their hair grower up in the air.
And they throw
And
their
oh my
hair grow
goodness.
up in the air. And oh my goodness, they even threw their chair up in the air. Woo! Yay! And your
hum. And your...
Do they bring the mayor back?
And if you would have touched my
Oh, and I have an idea.
And I have an idea.
what are you gonna do? Lock me up?
And your... I need your astronaut totally loses it.
And then your astronaut totally loses it. And he throws his space helmet up in the air. And he throws his space suit up in the air. And he throws his space snacks up in the air. And oh my goodness, he even threw his rocket ship.
And spaceship up in the air.
Spaceship up in the air. Woo! Yay!
And your mailman totally loses it.
And your mailman totally loses it. And he throws the mail up in the air. And he threw all the packages up in the air. And he even threw his mail carrying bag up in the air. And oh my goodness, he even threw the mail truck up in the air. Woo! Yay!
And ice cream truck totally loses it.
And the ice cream truck totally loses it. And they throw their ice cream cones up in the air. And they throw their
banana splits
up in the air. And they throw their
rocket pops up in the air.
rocket pops up in the air. And they throw their drumstick ice cream up in the air.
And they throw their sprinklers.
And they throw their sprinkles up in the air.
And it gets out of the truck.
And gets out of the truck.
And oh my goodness.
And oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He even threw the ice cream truck up in the air. Woo! Yay! Free ice cream! Yum, 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 yum.
Oh.
Dad
Totally loses it.
And Dad totally loses it.
And
he
they throw
throws
their
their
suspenders.
suspenders up in the air.
And they throw their smoke pipe up in the air.
And they throw their smoke pipe up in the air.
And they throw their hats up in the air.
hats up in the air.
And they throw their bow ties up in the air.
And they throw their bow ties up in the air.
And oh my goodness.
And oh my goodness,
They even throw their canes up in the air.
they even throw their canes up in the air. Woo! Yay!
And then the four-man Mills totally loses it.
And then the foreman Mills totally loses it. And they throw the jeans up in the air. And they throw the shirts up in the air. And they throw the sneakers up in the air. And they throw the caps up in the air. And they throw the hangers up in the air. And oh my goodness, they even threw the cash register up in the air. Woo! Yay! Woo!
Annual Planet Fitness total and the grandparents throws their oh my goodness
And the grandparents throw their oh my goodness
smoke pipe.
smoke pipe up in the air. Woo! Yay! Bravo!
Fitness totally loses it.
And Planet Fitness totally loses it. And they throw their t-shirts up in the air. And they throw their
Yep.
exercise equipment up in the air.
It's hot. Here, hold it for it. It's
And
hot.
they throw their...
Yeah,
Wanna
we
try
throw,
it? It's marshmallow.
and they
Yeah.
throw their trucks up in the air.
Wait. It's very hot. You don't want it?
Okay.
It's
Do you want to
marshmallows.
try it? Yes or
Yuck.
no? Okay.
And they throw their...
And they throw their exercise bikes up in the air.
And oh my goodness. Wow. I cannot believe it.
And oh my goodness, wow, I cannot believe it. They even threw their treadmills up in the air. Woo! Then we carry the mayor back to the stage.
And then...
And then,
Oh. I have an idea.
mm-hmm.
And your dentist totally loses it.
And your dentist totally loses it. And they throw their laughing.
And they throw their
And they throw their
dental floss up in the
You
air.
have it. And they throw their dental floss up in the air. And they throw their toothbrush up in the air. And they throw their
Toothbrush up in the air.
toothpaste up in the air. And they throw their toothbrush up in the air. And oh my goodness, they even threw their laughing gas up in the air. Now everybody has the giggles. Oh, so funny. Woo!
And board players totally loses it.
And the board players totally loses it. And
They throw their chess pieces up in the air.
they throw their head pieces up in the air. And they throw their chess pieces up in the air. And they throw their chessboard up in the air. And they throw their checkers up in the air. And they throw their checkerboard up in the air. And they throw their tic-tac-toes up in the air. And they throw their Monopoly up in the air. And the money goes everywhere. Woo!
And oh my goodness, cards.
And oh my goodness, they throw their cards up in the air. Woo! And someone catches the lucky ace. Woo!
And the stop of the sky stops.
And the sparklings of the sky stops.
And everyone was cheered. You hear everybody clapping. That was awesome.
And everybody's cheered, and you hear everybody clapping. And John says, that was awesome.
And the mayor holds up in his crowd and brings her back onto stage.
And the mayor flings back off of the crowd and springs back onto the stage and says, whoa! What an magnificent,
sparkly show.
sparkly show, craziest show ever! And thank you all for catching the mayor. That's me. And going crazy and wild
It's a holiday.
with this crazy holiday. Woo! I hope to see you all again next year. Will you be here?
Yay!
Woo!